The insecurity trap. Most people think they lack confidence because they're shy, introverted, or not naturally bold. But Machiavelli would tell you that's not the real problem. The real reason people struggle with confidence is simple: you've been trained your entire life to prioritize the opinions of people who don't matter. Every thought, every move, every hesitation, it all traces back to someone else's judgment sitting inside your mind. You learn to stay small so others feel comfortable. You learn to avoid risks so you don't look stupid. You learn to keep your head down so nobody questions you. Somewhere along the line, you started living your life like you're being watched, graded, or silently judged. And that invisible pressure steals more confidence than failure ever could. Because here's the truth most people never admit: you're not scared of trying. You're scared of being seen trying. You're not scared of failing. You're scared of someone noticing you failed. Your fear is not about the action. Your fear is about the audience. And Machiavelli believed that any person who lives this way becomes powerless. Because when your self-image depends on others, you never get to discover who you really are. You only become who you think they want you to be. But something changes the moment you realize this: nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Nobody is analyzing you. Nobody is waiting for you to mess up. People are too busy thinking about themselves, their problems, their insecurities, and their own image. This is where dangerous confidence is born. When you stop performing for the imaginary audience in your head, your natural power wakes up. You speak differently. You move differently. People respond to you differently. You stop acting like a background character in your own life. The insecure version of you is not real. It's a learned identity. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is conditioned can be broken. This first module is the start of that process, the moment you stop living for validation and start living from self-respect. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you turn on. And Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He believed every human has a power switch inside their mind, a shift that happens when you stop seeing the world as something that controls you, and start seeing yourself as someone who controls the world around you. Most people live their entire lives reacting. They react to people's moods, people's comments, people's expectations. Their whole identity is shaped by the environment. If someone approves of them, they feel good. If someone disapproves, their self-worth drops. They're like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by opinions, circumstances, and setbacks. But Machiavelli's version of confidence begins with one core belief. You are the cause, not the effect. The moment you internalize that, your entire psychological structure shifts. Suddenly, you stop waiting. You stop seeking permission. You stop apologizing for existing. Your mind becomes more focused, your presence becomes heavier, and people naturally adjust themselves around you. Think about the difference between someone who walks into a room hoping to be accepted, versus someone who walks in assuming they belong there. One is desperate for approval. The other radiates self-authority. And people can feel the difference instantly. Machiavelli believed that power comes from perception first, reality second. If you act like you're unsure, people respond by doubting you. If you act like you're solid, people treat you like you are. Confidence isn't loud or aggressive, it's the calm certainty that you know who you are, what you're capable of, and where you're going. But here's the twist: confidence grows the fastest when you face discomfort deliberately. Every time you put yourself in a situation that scares you, speaking up, making a move, taking a risk, your brain gets rewired. You shift from avoidance to dominance. From fear to control, from weakness to presence. And once that internal switch flips, people start reacting to you differently. They listen more. They respect you more. They feel your energy before you even speak. This is the beginning of your transformation, the moment you stop reacting to life and start directing it. The art of controlled intensity. Most people walk through life trying not to disturb anything. They move softly, speak softly, think softly, because they're terrified of being too much. But Machiavelli understood something brutal: the world belongs to people who know how to project controlled intensity. Not anger. Not chaos. Intensity. The kind that makes people lean in, not back away. The kind that makes your presence feel like a rising temperature in the room. Controlled intensity is a weapon. When you speak slowly but with certainty, people listen. When you make eye contact without flinching, people respect you. When you hold your ground in a disagreement without raising your voice, people rethink their assumptions about you. This is how you shift from being ignored to being impossible to overlook. But here's the psychological secret: intensity comes from eliminating hesitation. Every time you hesitate, when talking to someone, making a decision, expressing an opinion, you leak power. People pick up on that leak instantly. Humans are hardwired to follow the ones who seem sure, and avoid the ones who seem unsure. So if you want dangerous confidence, you must train your nervous system to stop asking for permission before taking action. The fastest way to do that is through micro-decisions. Small, quick choices made without overthinking. Ordering food without scanning the whole menu twice. Speaking up in a group the moment a thought hits you. Walking into a space with a pace that says you belong there. Every micro-decision strengthens your internal authority, and before long, the hesitation in your system dissolves. And here's where the transformation kicks in: once your intensity becomes controlled instead of chaotic, people will react differently. Some will get uncomfortable, they're used to you being smaller. Some will become drawn to you because your presence feels like direction in a world full of confusion. And some will fear you, but that fear is actually respect in disguise. This is the moment you start moving through life like someone who has weight, someone whose choices shape their environment instead of being shaped by it. Becoming untouchably self-assured. There's a moment in every powerful person's life when they stop caring about being liked and start caring about being effective. That shift is where untouchable self-assurance is born. Machiavelli knew that the person who is driven by public opinion becomes a puppet, but the person driven by purpose becomes a force. And this is where most people lose: they build their confidence on fragile foundations, compliments, validation, applause. The moment those disappear, their confidence collapses. Untouchable confidence starts when you break the addiction to approval. When you stop trying to be agreeable and start being aligned with your mission. Because the truth is, nobody respects the person who bends to every breeze. People respect the one who stands solid even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular. And here's the psychology behind it: humans are magnetized to certainty. If you hold your worldview with conviction, people will question their own before they question yours. But to reach this level, you need brutal self-honesty. You need to look at your flaws without flinching. Not to shame yourself, but to upgrade yourself. Every powerful figure in history mastered the art of self-audit, checking their weaknesses, improving their strengths, and refusing to lie to themselves about their current level. Weak people avoid mirrors. Strong people use mirrors as tools. And once you become someone who confronts reality instead of running from it, you become someone others cannot shake. This is where self-assurance turns dangerous. When your confidence no longer depends on mood, motivation, or the reactions of others, you become unpredictable in the eyes of anyone who wants to control you. They can't guilt you. They can't pressure you. They can't manipulate you. You stop being swayed by flattery, envy, comparison, or fear. People sense the shift instantly. Your energy becomes harder, rarer, more valuable. And the best part? When you reach this state, life gets easier. You stop wasting energy trying to please everyone. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop shrinking or explaining yourself. Instead, you move like someone who belongs everywhere you step, someone who knows exactly who they are. That's the version of you the world can't touch, can't shake, and can't ignore. This is the confidence Machiavelli would call unassailable, the type that makes you a presence, not just a person. The rise of the dangerous you. Every transformation has a breaking point, a moment where the old version of you dies quietly, and the new version steps forward without asking anyone's permission. This final phase is where Machiavelli's mindset fuses with your psychology to create something most people never achieve: dangerous self-possession. Not loud. Not arrogant. Just undeniable. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself because it's felt before it's seen. This level of confidence comes from understanding power in its rawest form. Power isn't domination. Power isn't shouting. Power isn't ego. Real power is control over your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, your direction. When you control yourself, nobody can control you. And that's the moment you become dangerous. Because most people are puppets of their feelings, offended easily, triggered quickly, distracted constantly. The person who stays calm, focused, and strategic becomes the one everyone pays attention to. But this rise requires you to step into discomfort with intention. Confidence grows where safety ends. You have to start doing things your old self would avoid. Taking risks your insecurity would run from. Saying the things you used to swallow. Moving in ways that make your doubt uncomfortable. The secret is repetition. The more you do the things that intimidate you, the faster your identity reshapes into someone who does them naturally. And here's the psychological shift that seals the transformation: when you start acting like a powerful person before you feel like one, your brain adapts. It updates your self-image. It rewires your identity around your new behavior. This is the loop of dangerous confidence. Action creates identity, identity creates action, and soon you become someone who moves with the calm intensity of a person who knows they cannot be replaced. By this point, something incredible happens: people treat you differently. They speak to you with more caution, more curiosity, more respect. Opportunities appear where you used to see avoidance. Conversations flow differently. Your presence starts to feel expensive. Not because you're pretending, but because you've stepped into a version of yourself most people never reach. This is the final stage of your rise. The stage where you walk into rooms with a quiet force that makes insecurity evaporate and confidence feel inevitable. This is the dangerous you, the one you were always meant to become.